There is nothing magical about this. It is hard work and it takes time. I think what can be hard when you are a startup, but we're desperate to make it work. We're desperate to sell our product. And even if you don't feel desperate, you are desperate because we all want bigger sales, we want more sales. But lead generation and the work that an SDR does takes time. It takes time to learn a message. It takes time to perfect that message.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world to share their insights and expertise so we can all grow together. I am your host, Heidi, and I'm the co-founder of the Spotlight to Scale Accelerator, where we drive revenue for companies by making sure they are seen as the authority and go-to expert in their industry versus just another product or service. Today, I am really excited to be joined by Hilary Shanahan with Fuel Sales Academy. We've had some fun behind the scenes, and I know this conversation is just going to be incredible. So welcome, Hilary, to the Business Growth Spotlight podcast, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be with me.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So let's kick it off with, if you don't mind, telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, your role, and a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. So my journey actually started with I was a K-12 teacher and leader for 20 years and loved that work. That was my calling, my passion. But I kind of reached the end of that. My niche was really in behavioral special needs, and 20 years in that type of career it naturally kind of came to an end. And in my process of looking to find a new job, I stumbled upon Fuel Sales Academy myself, just as a training ground for me to kind of figure out like what's next. And I entered into, just kind of the way everybody else does, I entered into their training program for SDRs and was quickly hired as a coach for them for about a year and a half, and then was promoted up to being the director of the accelerator. So I've gone through like a really interesting journey, had 3 different jobs within the same company in about 2.5 years.
Wow, that's a short amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything, and it's interesting how we look back, what, every step we take brings us to where we are now.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. So what sets Fuel Sales Academy apart from other sales training and development programs in the market today?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that really set us apart. One is that we're a paid training program. A lot of the other training programs either are you have to pay them or they will kind of like take a chunk of your salary for X, whatever the contract says after people get jobs. For us, we really stand firmly on the fact that we are trying to help people to find new careers and that we really want. That's our big driving motivator. We pay a nominal amount of money. It's $15 an hour, but it's money so you can really focus on learning as an adult who's kind of moving into we've got a lot of transitioning people. So like me, I was a teacher and I transitioned into ed tech because that made sense because I had at least I had one side really solid. The sales is what I had to learn. We've got people from all walks of life though. And so I think that's one thing that sets us apart. And then the other thing that I can never talk enough about is our culture. We have an incredible culture within the employees that work at Fuel Sales Academy. Our culture is incredible. And then we're able to really, even though we have a transient population, because our idea is train you up and get you out and get you a job. So it's constantly moving and changing with the people. But our coaches, everybody who works with us, just really loves what they do. And that comes through to the reps that work with us.
Yeah, it actually came through because I was telling you behind the scenes for those of you listening, we have an interview form that our guests you fill out. So because it helps me and we want to promote them and we get all their information. And I saw Hilary's photo and I was like, oh my gosh, like your energy just from the photo was so happy. And I couldn't wait to talk with her, with you, Hilary, because I was just like, oh my gosh, it's going to be such an awesome conversation. You could tell in your photo with the energy that you look so happy. And
So happy.
that really transfers over into, when you're working with a company in training and development, you want to work with a team who is happy, who really enjoys being where they are. And this company does, if you go to their website, because I did, you can see all the photos of the team and they all look, very happy to be there. And that makes a huge difference, both in the success of the company and also the success of your clients, right?
Absolutely.
That you serve. So,
and then the other thing, I'm sorry to cut you. No, but the other thing that we do is we do a lot of hiring from within. So SDRs that are coming through our program to learn how to be reps if they seem like they love what we do and they would be great coaches. Most of the coaches that work under me now all are from, they went through the program. So they understand like intimately what we do. And that also, I think, speaks volumes to our client base.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like how it worked for you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, amazing. So let's talk about the training programs now. So what are the
Mhm.
core services or training programs that Fuel Sales Academy provides, and how do they help people accelerate their success?
Yeah, so we start off with a class. The people who are interested in coming, they'll sign up for a class, and that's run by with our CEO, who's Dan O'Reilly, and our COO, who's Lonnie Hansen, and they run the class. They teach kind of like the basic. This is what sales is. This is our sales methodology, and then we do role plays with them. So they learn for 2 days, and then the rest of the week is just spent role playing, and it's like seeing if people can take coaching. Coaching is really important in any sales role, as far as I'm concerned. So the ability to be humble and hear that you're doing something that needs a little bit of adjustment. With sales, everything is different every single time, and so those tweaks and those pivots and those turns are also critical. And so we're looking for people that, even if they're not perfect, they have the ability to kind of shift and change, which is why teachers are so niche for us, because like those are people that just have to change on a dime constantly, and so they tend to do really well in our program. They go through that first week. We either invite them in, or we tell them that they either need to come again, or they might need a little bit more time. Or, I mean, we rarely tell them that like sales is not for them, but it could be that our process is not for them. If they're accepted into the accelerator, then they join a team with a coach that's overseeing it, and they're working real time with real clients. So the other side of the house for us is that we have ed tech companies that come who want to build their lead generation, and like that's what we do for them. So we partner with those clients, and we work, the SDRs will be assigned to a team, and then they work on behalf of whoever the client is that they're assigned to.
Amazing. So you don't just like say, here's your training, go learn
No,
it now. You actually put them through the ropes, quote unquote.
absolutely. So
So
they're learning like CRM, they're
yeah.
learning, our methodology, they're learning, general messaging framework, they're learning the K-12 space, as it kind of relates to their product, is usually the way that we kind of like ask them to begin their learning, is like, you don't need to learn everything K-12, but you need to start here. And then we give them strategies. We have them meet with clients and with the account executives. It's a very robust training program. It really is. We try to mirror, with a lot of support, what it looks like day to day in a regular sales environment. So they have calling blocks, and they have training that they have to do every day. So there really is, it's intentional, it's robust. We have high expectations, but we have like great leadership to help the reps kind of like work through the difficulties or the triumphs that they're having.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very robust, and you should have high expectations because
Yeah.
when people get to rise up to them, and when they do, they're going to be successful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's not for everybody. And you made a really good point. You offer coaching, so there's coaching available. They have mentorship, but that being said, they need to meet you where also they need to
Mhm.
show up and be coachable in order to take it in, learn it, and then implement. So
Right.
that's an important piece that I think a lot of people forget. They expect something from when they're involved in a training program or something, that they're going to get what they need, but they also need to be coachable, which is a really important piece. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that's an important takeaway that I like our listeners to walk away with today. So you are skilled in hiring, training, and managing high-performing sales teams or teams to achieve and exceed their goals. So what role does strong leadership play in driving business growth? And what traits do you believe are essential for success that
Mhm.
the people that you are helping and training need to take with them?
That's a great question. I mean, so being able to follow a process is really important to us. So understanding where to start, where to go, where we're going down the road. I mean, we try and guide them with like core competencies and things like that. So for the on the rep side, it's showing up, it's being present, um it's making sure that they're like on time to meetings. It's just all of those like little things that kind of make you into a great employee. The coachability aspect, like I said before, is probably our number one, making sure that people are really there. And then we're really trying to like build leaders. You know what I mean? So giving the reps, even though again, they're with us for such a short time, we always make jokes about once you're here for a month, you're an old hand, you've been here forever and ever. But they learn so fast because we really throw them in there and we're like, go, and I think that's not a bad thing. It's an uncomfortable thing, but it's a really wonderful thing to see. And we do that. I mean, we honestly do it because we're also a startup. So we do it with everybody. It's like, if you get hired on the inside with fuel, you're getting thrown into the fire. Let's go. We do that with reps to kind of see like, what's going to happen? Are you going to thrive in this environment? Can you find a way in a remote space? Because a lot of people, I think, have this sexy vision of I work from home, therefore, and it's like fill in the blank of all of the things that they think it's going to be. But I was a teacher for 20 years. That is a rigorous career. And like here, even in sales, like I am glued to my computer a lot. I have more flexibility and little things that I can do, but it's a job. It's like it's not cushy and it's not easy, but it's really fulfilling and really exciting. So I know I'm getting a little bit tangential here, but
No,
as
it's
I get
great.
back to like, so moving into more of like the team that I work with every single day, so the coaches, being passionate. I mean, that's something that I look for when I hire people who have loyalty, are excited about what we're doing, really believe in our mission and want to help people. I think at the end of the day, like that's probably the thread that like brings us all together is we all are incredibly passionate about helping people and all of us truly want the best for them. So whether that's a difficult conversation about this isn't working here, and these are the reasons why, we set that up for everybody. It's not just kind of like, I feel like unfortunately when people get fired, they sometimes really don't understand why. And we have a very thoughtful process that we follow to make sure that people are very clear about expectations. Sales is easy with metrics because it's like if you're not hitting metrics and you're not making progress and you continually month over month are not seeing that change, this is going to be a really challenging career for you. So we try and be very, very transparent about all of those things so that people can make great decisions for themselves. Do I want to stay with this? Can I do it? Or is this maybe not the thing for me?
Yeah. So you brought up passion and
Mhm.
also skill. So that leads me to a question of how do you feel, what do you believe in, or what have you seen as far as the balance between skill and passion to be
Mm.
successful?
That's an interesting question. I mean, the passion's critical, because that's what comes for a sales development representative, right? Like we can call it whatever we want, but we are cold calling into schools. If this is not this, that's no one's favorite person. So like a cold caller, none of us is psyched when we pick up the phone and we're like, oh, great. It's a cold calling salesperson. So it's a hard job, and it's like we really have to help the reps to be resilient, and be excited. Like you're not just calling to be a pest. Sometimes that's like a very natural thing, or they're bothering people, or these people are so busy. All of those things are true. But if you're passionate, if you can like look at your product and say, this is going to change lives of kids, this is going to change the lives of adults in school buildings, this is what's important. That's easy for me because I was in schools for a long time, but that can be true for parents. So even if you've got nieces and nephews, you can find your niche and you can find the thing that is like, this product is critical because, and then you're calling with a solution to a problem that makes you a really powerful player. So it's helping people with like the psychology of sales, like helping them to understand, like if you walk into a call with the energy, kind of talked about energy a little bit. If you walk into the call with an energy of like, I'm a bother and a pest, that energy comes through. If you walk in with the energy of, I have this beautiful solution of something that can really help transform the lives of people that you're working with every day, that's a whole different vibe that you're bringing into it. So teaching them those skills. I mean, some of the other really most basic skills of SDRs is volume. You've got to have a call volume. We're not a company that believes that emails are going to get you much of anything. It's those personal conversations. It's a pain-based sales conversation. We are not like pitch heavy in the beginning. We really want to make this about the person. What is going on for you? What is your story? How are things happening in your space? And make that tailored to whatever the product is that we're trying to, make a sale on at the end of the day. But the job of an SDR is really just to open that conversation, to book a meeting, to like tee it up for the account executive so that the account executive can take it and run and close the deal.
Yeah, you shared so much gold right there, so many things to unpack. One, you brought up the fact that you working from home. So right
Mhm.
there, like you said, it's not glamorous. I work from home. You need to be disciplined. Yes, things are going to come up, and you need to be able to say, like, okay, is this something that I need to focus on right now, or can I take this later, right? I have children. So if I get the call
Right.
from school, that's a priority. I need to handle that and then come back. But we can't just forget about what we were doing. This is a
Right.
job, this is work, and this is how we become successful. You also talked about passion, and which I loved because it is, people will meet you where you are. So like you said, if
Mhm.
you're picking up the phone and you're happy, whatever it takes to get there, it's important. I'll put my
Mhm.
music on to get me in that energy of fun and joyful, and that's going to resonate on the phone. If you're frustrated on the phone, it's going to shine through, like you shared. If you're
Yeah.
smiling on the phone, that's going to shine
Yeah.
through. You can and practice for you listening. If you're in sale, which you're selling every part of your life, whether it's
Right.
relationships, whether it's business, whatever it is, you're selling. So test that out. Like, listen to yourself. If you're in a grumpy mood or you're frowning, how does that come across? Right.
Right.
And that's why I shared about your picture. It's just lit up when I opened it. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. And then when you showed up on camera today, it was just like you were smiling, and it was just you bring the other person with you. So I
Mhm.
really glad that you shared that, and I'm glad we talked about the passion versus the skill. Skill can be taught,
Yeah.
but energy and belief and passion, that's something that you've got to have, and it comes with really belief in your product.
Mhm.
And so when things don't work out, like you shared, like sometimes it's not a match, and that's
Mhm.
okay. And it's not it. And what I'm learning too is that in business, it's kind of selfish to keep someone on when it's not a match also, because we're
That's right.
keeping them from really moving into what's better for them, right? And
Exactly.
vice versa. And I think
That's
when things don't work and we need to make that split, it's good for both sides to see it's not a bad thing.
right.
It's
Mhm.
actually better for both parties involved. So you brought up just so much good there. So when it comes to sales strategies, what top strategy in sales do you believe businesses should prioritize to achieve scalable growth in today's market?
I think the thing that comes to mind when you say that, just through my experiences over these past couple of years, is there is nothing magical about this. It is hard work and it takes time. I think what can be hard when you are a startup, we have been mostly working with startups and we're starting to branch out and work with some bigger clients as well. But we're desperate to make it work. We're desperate to sell our product. Like those things are all true. And even if you don't feel desperate, you are desperate because we all want bigger sales, we want more sales. But lead generation and the work that an SDR does takes time. It takes time to learn a message. It takes time to perfect that message. It takes time to learn from the different places that you're calling into. And those, even I can have my team tee the best meetings possible for an account executive, but if the account executive is not a good closer, or if there's like work that needs to be done on that other end, there's work to be done in all ends, right? And so it's about looking at each piece and figuring out how the pieces work together. I think the beauty of being able to hire something like a third party fuel sales is you take some of that management of an SDR team, which is exhausting. It's hard work. Managing SDRs is not the easiest thing in the world. And you take that off the plate of your sales leader, so that your sales leader isn't encumbered with not only an account executive team, but now an SDR team that they need to manage, and find a way to get a third party to really fuse. And I think that's something that Fuel does incredibly well. We insert ourselves and we are part of, that's the way we like to present it to companies. And then that's really my job, as being the liaison between the teams that I run on one side and then the client facing work that I do on the other side, where it's about helping them to feel like we are part of their family. We are here, we are working for you, we are working with you. And so the coaches that I work with do a really fantastic job of like building the relationships. I think that's another piece sometimes where people fail, is they don't realize how critical and important relationships are, how important it is to kind of let people know when they do well, but also like gently tell people how that they can change things when they're not doing well. The bravery that comes with
Yeah.
that, I think, is so, so important. And I know I kind of went down a bit of a path there, but like leading back to, I just think, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, it's Perfectly stated. And you've said that a couple of times where it's basically connection, creating
Mhm.
those relationships. And connection is currency, right?
Mhm.
Connection's currency. So as long as you're building those relationships, and I think there's too many companies out there that, well, I think that, I want to say the landscape is changing and the culture is changing where more and more people are building relationships
Yeah.
because that's what people want. And
Mhm.
if you want to build a long relationship, you have to cultivate that from the beginning. And it also takes persistence and follow
Mhm.
up, the fortunes in the follow up, right? When it comes to sales, there's so many reps, right? Closers and even businesses that they stop short. And if they
Mhm.
just continue to the follow up 1, 2, 3, 4 more times, they would have ended up, getting that relationship and getting that sale. Yeah. So again, so much gold as you've been sharing. So thank
Thank
you.
you.
So when it comes to teams, because you have a team, and
Mhm.
you have a team under you, how can
Mhm.
companies better equip their sales teams to consistently perform at a high level, even during challenging economic climates?
I think right now there's a little struggle. There's a little struggle going on with like how do and this is a constant conversation that I'm having with my teams is like what are we going to do to get people motivated? And it's about knowing your people. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer here. It's like in my head I'm money motivated. People are going to offer me money, I'm going to work harder. Like I work hard no matter what, but if you're putting extra on it, I will work harder to get that thing. I also like to win. So like these are things that are very motivating to me. What we find with like our SDR team is like, I think when we put money on things, some of them will rise to the occasion, some of them won't. And that fascinates me because I'm like, don't you want more money? And so it's like, but it's understanding your people. And that's what me and my team have been talking about is like, what would be meaningful for the people? Like, would it be more meaningful if you are the top performer in your group this month, you get 30 minutes with our CEO. Would that be more valuable? And so it's understanding the value behind what you're offering and what your people want versus what you think they want. Or, the mistake that I make sometimes is like, well, what Hilary wants is what everybody else wants. And that's just not true. It's like, we've learned that over and over again. So I know that I kind of am sounding a little bit like a broken record, but the understanding and the knowing of your people is what's going to help to drive each of my coaches they're all super different. What they need from me is different. Some of them, I'm from the Boston area. We're very direct. I work with mostly Southern and Midwestern people. So some of them need something that's a little bit more soft. Some of them need my directness. All of them need to be pushed, but it's like, how does the push happen? And so I spend time being really thoughtful about how I'm approaching the coaching of my people. I make it's like things like just making I have a sheet that we go through every single time in our goal setting meetings. And it's like, what are our goals? And it's something that's trackable and it's something that you can follow. And it provides like an organization. And then we've kind of trickled that down to the work that the coaches do with the SDRs, where it's like we're all trying to make a process that makes sense. So we're just constantly moving forward because at the end of the day, my job is to create more revenue for my company. It's like it's to help people, but like if we're just looking at like the numbers, my job is to increase revenue and to make sure that these teams are performing at the top. And so how are we going to do that? A lot of times with our SDRs, it's again going back and being like, let's get something on the books with the product department. Let's have product talk to our team so you can understand better. They always walk away being like, oh my God, thank you for setting that meeting up. It's just those little things that sometimes we overlook. We think push, more calls, more this, more that. Calls are important, hitting your numbers are important, but sometimes it's just the little bits of gold that we get when we have a meeting with an account executive or the little bits of gold that we get when we meet with product teams so that people can feel that confidence and that comfort. That to me is what's going to help. There's a lot of things that are going to help, but that comfortability creates confidence. And the confidence is like really what salespeople need to be able to be incredibly successful.
Perfectly stated. And you aren't repeating yourself. And when it comes down, it's sales at the end of the day. It's like you said, it's not brain surgery. It's not like we're reinventing the wheel every single time. We're testing things out consistently. Like you
Right.
need to know your numbers, right?
Yep.
You are testing probably like scripts and things.
Different messages. Yeah.
Yeah, you're testing your messaging. But at the end of the day, you do need to know your numbers. You do need to
Yes.
know your stats. You do need to know what's working, what's not working, and all of that. And you also need to know your people, which I think is a key point, because like you said, what drives one person, I'm money motivated too. So I hear you. But what drives one person doesn't necessarily drive everyone. And if you don't know your team and you're pushing money on someone and that's not their motivator, then they're not going to thrive. And they could
Right.
be a great team member. They could be a
Right.
great asset to your company, but they're just not performing because we're looking at the wrong thing for them and we're not understanding what their motivator is. So
Mhm.
I think that was perfect and a huge takeaway for today. So again, connection is currency. And
Yeah.
yes, you need to build relationships with your customers that you want to bring in and your new clients, but you also need to be building those relationships and those connections inside of your team,
Right.
because connections currency. If you want them
Right.
bringing in more revenue and driving more revenue for your company, then you need to build those relationships within either. And you shared at the beginning, your company does that. They have that
Mhm.
culture. And
Mhm.
like I shared again, it just came through on your photo. All of you look so happy. And I love that you walk the talk. Your company walks the talk. You're not only doing it outside with building those relationships because you want to get more clients, right? To drive more
Mhm.
revenue, but you're also doing it within your company to support your employees, right? Your coaches and your team, so they stay, because
Right.
turnover is costly too. That
Right.
doesn't drive revenue. That takes away from revenue. So
Right.
that is costly. So yeah, perfect. So my last question is what are the biggest mistakes you see companies making when it comes to their sales processes? How can they correct them to fuel growth? You like that word I used, fuel growth?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. It's a cute little pun. I'm enjoying that very much. The big pivot that we have made with our incoming clients recently, I'm looking at and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna hopefully be a game changer to me, is being thoughtful about strategy. I feel like that is such an overlooked, we want more money or we want to build, we want to get 25% growth year of whatever it is that companies want to do, but the strategy isn't behind all of those numbers. And so getting really thoughtful and granular, not about what you think, what the numbers are telling you, right? So it's like really looking and seeing, where are my last 5 or 10 close loss? Where are my last 5 or 10 close won? I might think whatever, Wisconsin's going to be my big state for whatever it is. But then I see that all I'm doing is like close loss in Wisconsin. Well, was that the numbers are telling me that's not the truth. So following the money, following the numbers. So that means being really up on your research, constantly researching and thinking about like, where is funding? What funding can be used for this? How can I think creatively about my product? I think those things are critical. And then also thinking about, so now that I know these things, what is the strategy that I'm going to do? How am I going to prioritize a set of states and then prioritize a different set of states? What do I want to do? Am I trying to go into greenfield? Am I trying to work a market that's already here? You know what I mean? Like a place where we already have clients and we're trying to do something that's more like spoken wheel, but thinking about that and then getting your team on board. I think that there's something really beautiful about autonomy, and I give my coaches tons of autonomy, but at the end of the day, we are all working through a methodology. And so we have this like grounding force, and like we have an understanding of like what our clients need. And we're all very much in touch about that. I would love to see more sales teams working the way that we work. I think that that would make a big difference. And we're very vulnerable with each other. When we need help, we ask for it. I think there's some of the things I'm saying are basic, but I don't see
Yeah.
people doing them, and I think salespeople are very tight within themselves because there's a lot of competition, and it's like allowing yourself some vulnerability so that you can learn and grow from other people around you, because there is so much wealth on all of these teams. When I meet with like account executives individually, I'm like, this is amazing. I wish that this person and that person talked. I look at 2 different meetings and I'm like, I don't feel like they probably have ever talked. I probably feel like I talk to them more than they talk to each other. And that feels like a miss to me. That's probably
Yeah.
something in leadership that is a miss, but there's so many places to grow. And so it's, you can't grow in all directions at once, but finding one thing that you think would really benefit. So it's like, if it's like learning from each other, I bring teaching practices in. It's like best practices. We used to have to do that all the time in teaching, but there's something so wonderful about one of my coaches being able to come in and teach something that they're doing to the rest of them. And they're all like, oh, dang, that's so cool. And then they offer to help each other. And all of a sudden this culture is born, and it grows and it grows and it grows. That to me is, that's where I want to work. And that was like, I loved teaching and I loved kids. I did not love culture in school. So the big thing for me when I left was like finding a place where the culture felt good and where I could like really truly bring my authentic self and like help things to like become better. And I feel like I'm able to do that. And there's something just so beautiful about that, you know?
Yeah. And rewarding, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. You want
for
it when
real.
you like you talked about passion. You also
Mhm.
want to feel like what you're doing is rewarding every day. So yes, the money matters, but if you're
Yes.
miserable, at some point that money's not going to matter. And I love that you have that autonomy, like the open door. Like
Mhm.
let's be honest and open with each other because when it comes to sales, let's be honest, there's always targets, there's always
Mhm.
goals, there's always things
Absolutely.
that we need to meet and exceed, right? Month to month. And those
Mhm.
can shift as we're doing better in sales and getting
Right.
more, those goals are going to move up and up
Right.
and push us to our limits, right? And you want to be able to be able to talk to somebody and say, hey, this, I'm having one of those days. And if you
Right.
don't feel like that, then it's always going to be stressful. And eventually the money's not going to matter.
Right.
And again, you're building that culture not only with your clients and customers, but you're also building it within, which I think is incredible. So Hilary, how can someone reach out to you? How can we find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on the website is Go Fuel Sales. And I'm on there. My email will probably be in the notes, right? I don't know how
Yep.
exactly how you do it, but like the notes, emailing is probably the easiest way. LinkedIn is a very easy way. Also, I'm on there a bunch, but I would love to connect with people and have more conversations.
Absolutely. So reach out to Hilary. She's amazing. You've heard her energy is so fun. She's very personable. She will reply to you. So go reach out to her to go to Go Fuel Sales. And we're going to have all of your information and your links on the show notes. So, Hilary, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. This was just such a joyful conversation. I appreciate your energy and I appreciate the ability to come on here and just kind of talk about what we do and what my journey has been like and where we are as a company. So I just appreciate the time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate and grateful for your time. This has been incredible and such a wonderful conversation. Truly insightful. And I know a lot of our listeners are going to have a lot of takeaways from it. So thank you so much for your time. So make sure you go reach out to Hilary and it's Go Fuel Sales, Hilary.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, perfect. Go to Go Fuel Sales. And if you feel your business is blending in and you're ready to grow your visibility, be seen as the expert in your space, and scale to the next level, then go grab our Spotlight to Scale blueprint to get started at spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. Don't forget to also go reach out to Hilary. Thank you again, Hilary, for being on the
Thank
Business
you.
Growth Spotlight podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.